I've got a 1 acre property for sale in Merritt, Washington. This is a really cool land investment that we've got in the North Cascade range. It's really close to Leavenworth and Lake Wenatchee. My name's Miles McLaughlin here at Wilco Land. I'm going to break down this property for you today. I'm going to teach you how you can go access this property. I'm going to show you what it's close to and pull this property up on satellite imagery, and give you a better understanding of the target audience and some potential ideas with the property. So sit back, relax for a couple of minutes. I'm going to cover a lot of common questions. I'm going to teach you how to view the property, and I'm going to show you what this looks like on maps. So again, I love this property. You're going to have really cool views. You're really close to Lake Ethel Trailhead, and you're basically in Merritt, Washington, which is really close to Stevens Pass ski area, Leavenworth, Wenatchee, Lake Wenatchee, and I mean, just world-class recreation at your fingertips in the Cascade Range. And you're really not too far away from Seattle either. So as I browse through some of these photos to give you an idea of what we're looking at, I did have a wetland specialist go on the property. No issues with wetlands on this property. This is going to pass with flying colors, and there shouldn't be any issues with wetlands on the property that you run into if you want to develop on this land. So keep that in mind. We did have a preliminary wetland delineation study done, so I can talk a little bit more about that throughout the video. But getting started with a quick disclaimer, this is not legal advice. This is not real estate advice. I'm simply sharing my thoughts and opinions with you on this property today through my own 10 plus years of experience in the industry and my own due diligence on the property itself. So we've been doing this for over 10 years. Our specialty, our niche is unique and epic land investments just like this one. So it really fits a bill of the type of properties that we love to work with here at Wilco Land. Let me show you kind of what we're looking at here with this 1 acre in Washington. Here's an aerial view. So we went through some of the photos. You're going to have some awesome views from the property. You're tucked away right in the mountains of the North Cascades. I'll pull it up here on a map. So this is satellite imagery of the property. And before we get into satellite imagery, let me just show you where we're at on a map, just so you have an idea. Here's Leavenworth, Washington. We're right off Highway 2. This is Seattle. So you take Highway 2, past Scenic, Wellington, Skykomish, and you end up at Lake Wenatchee, just to the north of the property. And then you're right along Nason Creek. So just off Highway 2, you're not on the highway. You get off there on Gill Creek Road, and then you head up to the property. You can see it, 3rd Avenue shoots over here, and it goes to Gill Creek Forest Service Road 640. So let's talk about some satellite imagery, though, real quick, and look at that. So there's going to be a lot you can do with a property like this. It's mostly flat, which is really nice. There's going to be a lot you can do with a property like this. It has a road going right through it. I don't know how accurate these property lines are. You might want to survey before you actually go and develop and build. Your property could actually be a little bit more shifted this way, giving you more room on this side. But right now, this is what we're looking at. If you do want to get a survey, you might get more exact boundaries of your property, but this gives you a pretty good idea. And another app that I like to use to look at satellite imagery is going to be Onyx Maps. And it can even give you the elevation of the property. It's 2,100 feet elevation, this property is. If I zoom in, you can see I can even draw like this side of the property is going to total about 0.63 acres on this side of the road. Again, this isn't a perfect science. You can see like some of the neighbors have built on that side of the road. It seems like a good side of the road to build on. And I believe this neighbors actually has something back in here too, but we'll keep looking at satellite imagery to see what we can see. But people have built back here. So this is a cool little home. This is a really nice spread here that these folks have. Somebody's built back here. It looks like there's maybe some development right here. There's a home, it looks like right here, a mobile home. Again, I'm doing, recon on this property to help you understand, what's possible. So you do see people building. This is a cool property. So when I think about a target audience for something like this, a lot of people are buying land in Washington from us, especially in the Cascade Range, to do tiny homes, yurts, and kind of glorified campsites, right? That's option number one, something dry. You're not worried about septic and well. You're not worried about utilities. You're out here to recreate and have a weekend spot for hiking, the lakes, camping, to store your boat, maybe put a storage container up, maybe a pole barn, a shop, things like that. Like those are good ideas. The other train of thought is, hey, I want to build a home like what these folks have, right? They've got some pretty cool properties back here. And so to go through that process, you're going to go through the stand like any other raw piece of land. You go through the state, you go through the county, you get your septic approvals, you get your well approvals, you hook up to power, all that good stuff, right? So That's a process. We're selling the raw product. I'm happy to talk you through all that and steer you in the right direction. If you're interested in understanding that a little bit better, sometimes even just calling a builder, calling local well companies, local developers, septic companies, and things like that can really get you a good head start in that process. So again, what's cool about this property is actually right here at the end of Gill Creek Road, which only these landowners have access to. Lake Ethel Trailhead is right here. So right in your backyard, you can walk out your front doorstep and hike up to Lake Ethel in about 4.5 miles. And that'll bring you up here. And you can even go further and look at all these high alpine lakes up here. And there's a waterfall up here. So Chewacum Lake is up here. That's a really, really cool feature to this property, is that you can walk out your front doorstep and go hike in the Alpine Lakes Wilderness. That's a really, really cool feature to the property. Let's not take that for granted. And then Lake Ethel Trailhead, there might be some traffic, people going to Lake Ethel. No, that's not true. Guess what? Lake Ethel Trail is closed to all public access, 1.7 miles from the trailhead, as the trail travels through private lands, right? McHugh Ridge and Scottish Lakes are inaccessible via this trail. So basically what I'm understanding is that they're saying that road that crosses through our property, don't worry about traffic. This road goes through private lands. So they're not allowing people to basically access Gill Creek, the trailhead, basically. That's my understanding, if I'm reading that correctly, is that, this access to this trailhead goes through private land ownership, and they're not, they're saying that's closed to the public. So that's a really good sign. If you own property back here, this is a dead end road that nobody's taking. That's a good sign as well. I was measuring out some things on this property too. You're probably not developing right here. This is a power line easement. So really all development is taking place on this northern side of the property. So keep that in mind. You've got some power lines running through here. I'm assuming this is going to be a power line easement. You're not going to probably be able to develop like that. But you can see, let's get a better aerial look, maybe another year has better imagery. Here's some people that have all developed on that side of the road, right? You can see some of that development happening. So that checks out, and more people have built over here. So sometimes it's just interesting to look at other year imagery just to see what we're looking at. We can even maybe drop down on satellite imagery. You can go further back even and see when people started building. These properties still existed back in the day. This property did too. It looks like that was maybe just a camper at one point, and they ended up building. And then there is a house tucked away back here too. You can see that right there in this year imagery. So here's Lake Ethel Trailhead too. So keep zooming out. Obviously, we've got a lot of these high alpine lakes. If you're not familiar with them, I think that's a huge, huge feature that really makes this a rock star property. So we might be able to get down on Google Street Views as well. You're really close to Nason Creek. You can see what that looks like. You're going to have some really good fly fishing opportunities out here. And you can even get street views, not all the way to the property, but you can get pretty darn close to get an idea of your drive to your property. Just a beautiful, beautiful part of the country. Think Airbnb. You're really close to Stevens Pass ski area too. So maybe an Airbnb would even work out here. I'm not sure what the county restrictions are on rental properties like that. So again, Nason Creek's right there. There might be a good public access point to Nason Creek somewhere here. But again, as we zoom out, you can see this property is surrounded by world-class recreation. That's a huge selling point to this property, is that you've got Lake Wenatchee, a hop, skip, and a jump away. You've got access to hiking trails. If you're looking at this property, you're probably familiar with the area, and it's a really cool area. So for those of you who want to go view the property, simply use the GPS coordinates to get out there. All you want to do is plug these GPS coordinates into Google Maps. You can plug them in just like this, drop them in, and it'll bring you straight to the property. For a property like this, I highly recommend using Onyx Hunt or having at least some understanding of the satellite imagery to go successfully view this property. You're going to get to this property, and it's going to be, if the GPS coordinates take you there, you're going to try to, it's about 50 yards wide, this property is. I think the most usable area is going to be on the north side of it, this 3/4 acre of a section that we talked about. But basically, you're going to hop on 3rd Avenue. We talked about this at the beginning of the video. You're going to head down Gill Creek US Forest Service Road, and that's going to take you right in front of our property here, previously owned by Thomas Dent. So that ownership record just hasn't changed yet. And then if you've gone to this house, you've gone too far. Maybe some natural features in the landscape could be this power line. We are further to the west of the power line. So I'm circling a big power line right here, like a post. So from that post, basically, the start of our property is roughly 83 yards. So if you're having trouble finding the property, use this as a feature. We're about 83 yards there, and that's where our property starts, and it goes for about another 50 yards. Okay, let's keep going through this listing and touching on some things. We talked about potential use. Think about building a cabin, dry usage, yurts, tiny homes, storage containers, RVs, put a gravel pad down, or just a glorified campsite, right? Some people might look at this as a land investment. At the end of this video, I want to cover what's on Zillow. There's nothing in our price range at all. We move land fast. We have the best prices out there. I've got the area pulled up here on Zillow. Just going from low to high, the cheapest property you're going to find is way up here in Brewster, which this isn't even marked in the right location. This is in Okanagan County. Brewster, Washington's in Okanagan County. So, and maybe that is still it, but the closest thing you can find is this $100,000 2 acre in Skykomish. You're not finding anything else in this Merritt area in Nason Creek. Like if I get my face off here, here's 4 acres for $250,000. Here's 20 acres for $450,000. Do you see what I'm saying? Like here's 1 acre. Wow. I mean, we might be completely underpriced on this property. I'm surprised to see this listing for $200,000, and maybe we are just completely underpriced, but we're right here. Like I said, this little niche market here by Lake Wenatchee is really expensive. We do have one of the best deals out there. I'm confident to say that. We offer the best deals because we're in the business of moving land fast. I'd love to hold on to these properties myself and collect a portfolio, but we'd have no more money to keep buying properties, right? So we have to turn property over to keep reinvesting. We hope to get these properties in people's hands that are excited about their land investments and really dream to owning something like this. Our preference is always going to be a cash deal, but we can discuss seller financing if that's something you're interested in. So again, going back, we did have somebody check out the property. You're not going to have any issues with wetlands. Camping in RVs is allowed. Check with the county for full guidelines. Power is going to be right there. That's not a concern of mine. If you're looking for water, it's probably going to be well. Sewer is going to be septic system, right? So that's about all I've got to share on the property. We covered comparable sales. We went through a lot of the photos. We went through the market. We're going to be one of the best opportunities out there to buy land. Should be pretty easy to access using those GPS coordinates. If you have any questions, if you're interested in looking at more of our land deals, I do have other properties in Washington, Oregon, Montana, Alaska. You can browse through our website. Right now in Washington, I've got this property in Leavenworth. I've got some stuff out in Chelan, Douglas area off the Columbia River, and I've got 10 acres in Yakima. And I've got a pretty cool property near Mount Rainier as well. It's 5 acres in Morton, Washington. I'm going to pause on this one quick. This is a really nice 5 acre, and again, priced extremely competitively. So if you're interested in something really close to Rife Lake, Mayfield Lake, and Mount Rainier, this is going to check out. Again, we've had a lot of work done from geotechs to wetland studies done on this property as well too. So just get with us if you have questions. You can reach us here at 605-299-5553. Thanks for tuning in.